You use Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp, maybe all three, and you know vaguely that something is wrong with these platforms. You have felt it. You probably think the problem is too much advertising, or algorithms that make you angry, or even Mark Zuckerberg being a strange and powerful man. Those things are true, but they are not the problem. They are the surface. What am I going to show you today using documented facts, real names, real money, real dates, is what is underneath. And what is underneath is this. The largest private surveillance infrastructure in human history was built, funded, and connected to the American intelligence apparatus, and then placed in the hands of 3 billion people who were told it was social network. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is a sequence of documented events. Let me take you through it. It begins in 2004. Harvard, Mark Zuckerberg launching Facebook. Founding mythology says, brilliant kid, dorm room, changes the world. Fine, but let's follow the money. The first check Facebook receives, $500,000, comes from Peter Thiel. Now, who is Peter Thiel? Co-founder of PayPal, co-founder of Palantir, a data analytics company whose primary clients are the CIA, the NSA, the US military, and law enforcement agencies across multiple democracies. And this is important. The author of 2009 essay in which he wrote in plain English, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. This is the first investor in Facebook. He will sit on its board of directors for 17 years. The second round of funding, $12.7 million in 2005, comes from a venture capital firm called Accel Partners, managed by a man named James Breyer. In 2004, the year before Accel invested, James Breyer was chairman of the National Venture Capital Association. Also on that board, Gilman Louis. Gilman Louis was the founding CEO of In-Q-Tel. In-Q-Tel is the venture capital firm established by CIA in 1999. Its explicit mandate, in the words of the CIA director George Tenet, quote, CIA identifies pressing problems and In-Q-Tel provides the technology to address them. It's a stated area of expertise, data mining technology. The third major investor, the April 2006 round, $27.5 million, comes from Greylock Partners. Greylock's Howard Cox sat directly on In-Q-Tel board of directors. I wanted to be precise because precision matters. There is no document proving the CIA directly funded Facebook. None. What the documented record shows is this. Every significant early investor in Facebook had direct institutional relationships with the CIA's venture capital arm. At the same moment, the CIA identified mass social network surveillance as a priority intelligence capability. You decide what to call that. But here is what makes the pattern even harder to dismiss. The CIA interest in mass social surveillance didn't begin with Facebook. In 2002, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, established the Information Awareness Office. Its director, Admiral John Poindexter, Reagan's national security advisor, convicted in the Iran-Contra affair. The Information Awareness Office had one goal: develop technology capable of monitoring the communications, financial transactions, travel records, and social network of the entire American population. Congress killed it in 2003. Too exposed, too obviously authoritarian. But the program's intellectual objectives, the systematic mining of social data to build models of human behavior and political tendencies, did not die. They were privatized. Facebook's technical architecture, its data collection methodology, its commercial model. The British Parliament's own investigation noted explicitly that Facebook's data collection enabled, and I quote directly from the parliamentary record, human network analysis and behavioral model building engines. That is the exact language used in Information Awareness Office program documentation. The state program that was too politically dangerous to operate directly found a new home. It became the product you use every day. On the 6th of June 2013, Edward Snowden handed the journalists at The Guardian and The Washington Post classified documents. Those documents revealed PRISM. PRISM was an NSA program, active since 2007, under which the agency had direct access to the servers of 9 major American technology companies. Facebook was one of them. Under PRISM, the NSA could access real-time communications, emails, messages, photographs, live voice, all of it in real time. Facebook had known about the program. It was compelled by secret court order and prohibited from disclosing it to users. 6 years while you were posting photographs and sending messages and describing your political views and your relationship on Facebook, the NSA was reading it. In September 2020, a US federal court ruled that the mass surveillance program was illegal, possibly unconstitutional. The court also found that US intelligence leaders had not told the truth when they publicly defended. Nobody was prosecuted. Facebook faced no accountability. Edward Snowden remains in exile in Russia. And Facebook's stock price continued to rise. Now, let me show you how Facebook dealt with competition. February 2012, Facebook's CFO, David Ebersman, sends an internal email to Zuckerberg. He lists possible reason for acquiring Instagram, then a 13-person startup. One of the options he lists: neutralize a potential competitor. Zuckerberg's reply, and this email was published by the United States House Judiciary Committee, so there is no ambiguity here. Zuckerberg confirms yes, that is one of the motivations. In an internal company meeting around the same time, an employee asks Zuckerberg how worried they should be about Instagram. He says we need to dig ourselves out of a hole. The bad news is they are growing very quickly. It's going to be tough to dislodge them. 1 month later, Facebook buys Instagram for $1 billion. Instagram had no revenue. The FTC reviewed the deal and unanimously approved it. 2 years later, 2014, Facebook acquires WhatsApp for $19 billion. WhatsApp had been identified internally as a threat to Facebook messaging monopoly. The FTC approved this one too. The FTC eventually sued Meta in 2020, 8 years after the Instagram acquisition. The case went to trial in 2025. 6 weeks of proceeding, the FTC's lead attorney called Zuckerberg's emails a smoking gun. The FTC lost. In November 2025, a federal judge ruled, not a monopoly. Market has changed. TikTok and YouTube exist now. The legal conclusion: if you acquire your competitors early enough, integrate them thoroughly enough, by the time anyone challenges it, the market will have moved enough that the original act becomes unprovable. That is not a legal technicality. That is a blueprint. Now we get to the part that affected elections. Cambridge Analytica was a British political consulting firm, funded with at least $15 million from Republican billionaire Robert Mercer, named by Steve Bannon, who held a stake in the company. It was a subsidiary of SCL Group Strategic Communication Laboratories, a private company that described itself as a global election management agency. It had worked in over 25 elections, primarily in the developing world for militaries and governments seeking to manipulate public opinion. Its documents show it advised a client in Nigeria to suppress opposition turnout by organizing anti-election rallies on the day of polling in opposition strongholds. SCL demonstrated at a military technology showcase publicly for paying clients its capacity to orchestrate a sophisticated campaign of mass deception on the population of a major city. This is the parent company of the organization that accessed the data of 87 million Facebook users. The mechanism: a third-party app that exploits Facebook API, which Facebook had contractually prohibited from this kind of data harvesting since 2012 and had never audited for compliance. The data was used to build psychological profiles of the American electorate and micro-target them with political messaging designed for their specific emotional vulnerabilities. Cambridge Analytica was hired by Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Facebook was fined $5 billion in 2019. The fine was approved 3-2 along party lines. The Democratic commissioner said it was too lenient, that Zuckerberg should have been held personally liable. The fine went to the U.S. Treasury General Fund. Not $1 was spent on privacy protection. $5 billion on a company worth $600 billion, less than 1%. Let me tell you what all of these adds up to. This is not a story about a technology company that became too powerful and needs better regulation. That framing is designed to make you think the problem is manageable, a policy question, a matter of better laws, more vigilant regulators. The pattern I have shown you is different in kind. A state surveillance program, too politically exposed to operate directly, migrated into private infrastructure, funded by investors institutionally connected to the intelligence apparatus, built on business models that made the surveillance commercially self-sustaining, formalized through secret court orders, weaponized in electoral operations, protected from accountability by a lobbying infrastructure that spent $24 million in Washington in 2024 alone, and presided over by a CEO who controls 61% of voting rights and answers to no shareholder, no board, and, as the 2025 court ruling demonstrates, effectively no regulator. 3 billion people, one man, no accountability. This is what I call the digital ideology. Not a metaphor about technology and power, but this specific history, these specific names, these specific transactions. The question that cannot be asked, who controls the cognitive infrastructure? In whose interests, under what accountability, must be asked in exactly this register. Because if you cannot name it, you cannot challenge it. And if you cannot challenge it, then you are living inside it. And you already know that. That's why you're still watching.